In the kingdom of Umoji, nestled amidst the lush forest and river of Igbo land, King Obi had longed for an heir to carry on his lineage. Despite being married for 5 years to Queen Nneka, their union had yet to be blessed with a son. Instead, they were blessed with 3 daughters, each cherished and loved dearly by their parents. But the king's desire for a male heir remained unfulfilled. As the years passed and the whispers of the court grew louder with each passing day, King Obi's impatience reached its limits. He began to entertain thoughts of taking a second wife, one who might bear him the son he so desperately desired. Queen Nneka, burdened by the weight of her husband's expectations and the looming threat of being replaced, sought out from the river goddess Allah, revered by the people of Umoji as the divine protector of fertility and motherhood. With tears in her eyes and a heart heavy with worry, Queen Nneka made the arduous journey to the sacred river where the goddess resides. She knelt upon the banks, her prayers carried away by the gentle currents, pleading for guidance and assistance in her time of need. Moved by the queen's sincerity and devotion, Allah appeared before her in a shimmering veil of mist, her voice a soothing melody that calmed the queen's trembling heart. "Rise, my child," her words carrying the weight of centuries of wisdom. "Your devotion has not gone unnoticed, and your request shall be granted. Return to the palace, for a son shall soon be born unto you and your husband, a beacon of hope for your lineage and your kingdom." She thanked the river goddess Allah and returned to the palace with newfound hope and anticipation. Months passed, and to the astonishment of all, the queen's belly began to swell with the promise of a new life. The king, overjoyed by the prospect of finally having a son, lavished his wife with love and affection, grateful for the blessing bestowed upon them by the divine. As the time of the child's birth drew near, the king sought the counsel of the village medicine woman, Ngozi. With her knowledge of herbs and ancient rituals, Ngozi proclaimed that the child destined to be born would indeed be a son, a future ruler destined to bring honor and prosperity to the kingdom. Filled with excitement and anticipation, the king awaited the arrival of his long-awaited heir. However, when the moment finally came, the palace was engulfed in shocked whispers as the midwife presented the newborn prince to his parents. For the child born by Queen Nneka was unlike any they had ever seen before. His skin as pale as the moonlight, his hair as white as snow, a stark contrast to the rich melanin of his Igbo king. In their ignorance and superstition, the king and the villagers recoiled at the sight of the albino infant. Their mind clouded by fear and prejudice, rumors spread like wildfire through the palace and beyond, casting doubt upon the child's legitimacy and the queen's fidelity. Despite her protests and tears, Queen Nneka found herself cast out of the palace, branded as disgrace to the royal lineage for bringing shame upon her husband and her kingdom. Heartbroken and ostracized, the queen clung to her albino son, her love for him unwavering in the face of adversity. With nowhere else to turn, she fled to the outskirts of the village, determined to protect her child from the cruelty of the world that had rejected them both. As years passed, King Obi's desire for a male heir grew even stronger. Fueled by the disappointment of his albino son's birth and the subsequent exile of Queen Nneka, determined to secure his legacy and ensure the continuation of his lineage, the king took drastic measures in his quest for a son. Despite remarrying twice in hope of having a male child, each of his new wives bore him daughters, perpetuating the cycle of disappointment and frustration. On the third, King Obi embarked on a journey far and wide, seeking out herbalists and medicine men rumored to possess the secret of conceiving a son. From the distant land of neighboring kingdoms to the depths of the mystical forest, where ancient remedies were said to reside, the king spared no expense or effort in his relentless pursuit of a male heir. Yet, no matter how far he traveled or how many portions he consumed, his efforts proved futile, and his dream of fathering a son remained elusive. With each passing year and each new daughter born into the household, King Obi's desperation grew, driving him to take even more drastic measures in his relentless quest for a male heir. And so, the palace gate welcomed yet another wife and then another in a futile attempt to fulfill the king's insatiable desire for a son to inherit his throne. Yet, despite his efforts, the hall of the palace echoed only with the laughter of daughters, leaving the king's dream of fatherhood unfulfilled and his kingdom's future uncertain. In his relentless pursuit of a male heir, King Obi sought counsel from one of the chief priests of the land, reverend for his deep connection to the spiritual realm and his insight into the workings of the gods. With desperation etched upon his face, the king implored the chief priest to reveal the secrets behind his inability to father a son, despite his fervent prayers and sacrifice. The chief priest began his incantation and soon spoke of the god's displeasure, particularly that of the river goddess Allah, who had once shown mercy upon the king by blessing him with a male child out of pity, not out of merit. He explained that the gods were angry by the king's disregard for his daughters, his failure to appreciate the blessing bestowed upon him in the form of female children, and his cruel exile of Queen Nneka and their albino son. The chief priest prophesied that the king's fate was sealed. He would never bear another male child as punishment for his arrogance and disrespect toward the divine will. However, there was a glimmer of hope amidst the divine retribution. The gods had declared that in order to appease their wrath and restore balance to the kingdom, the king must humble himself and reconcile with Queen Nneka, bringing her back to the palace along with their albino son. Shaken to his core by the chief priest's revelation, King Obi realized the gravity of his transgression and the dire consequences that awaited him should he continue to defy the will of the gods. And so, he decided to go search for his wife and son who he had sent out for more than 20 years. As King Obi embarked on his journey to seek reconciliation with Queen Nneka, his path led him through treacherous forests and rugged terrain. Along the way, he faced numerous challenges, from harsh weather to wild beasts lurking in the shadow of the dense forest. It was during one fateful encounter with a fierce predator that the King Obi, found himself at the mercy of death's cold embrace when a bear attacked him. As he battled for his life against the savage creature, his strength waning and his hope fading, salvation came in the most unexpected form. A figure emerging from the shadow, Munachi, a young albino, blessed by the gods with the gift of healing, appeared before the king. King Obi watched as Munachi effortlessly subdued the wild beast and tended the king's injuries with skill and compassion. Grateful for his unexpected rescue, King Obi remembered his son who he had rejected even without looking at him. And immediately he was overwhelmed with guilt and regret. He thanked the boy and asked who his mother is. He told him that his mother's name is Chisom. Feeling disappointed that he is not his son, thanked him one more time and continued his journey. He encountered villagers and inquired about Queen Nneka and her son, and they spoke in a hushed tone of a queen and her son who had sought refuge in their community. Rumors had it that the queen albino boy has a remarkable healing ability and was given the position of the chief medicine man to their king, a testament of the profound impact he had made upon their lives. Overwhelmed by a mixture of relief and regret, King Obi realized with drowning clarity that the son he had longed for, the one he had rejected and cast aside, was none other than the albino who rescued him from the brink of death. Tears streamed down the king's face as he grappled with the weight of his past actions. King Obi was struck by the irony of fate, that the son he had once deemed unworthy and undesirable was now cherished and appreciated by another king. Upon reaching the village where Queen Nneka and Munachi had sought refuge, King Obi's heart swelled with both fear and anticipation. Trembling with emotion, he approached the modest dwelling where his beloved wife and son reside. His step shaking as he prepared to face the consequences of his past deeds. As he entered the humble abode, King Obi's eyes met with those of Queen Nneka and Munachi. With tears streaming down his face, the king fell to his knees before them, his voice trembling as he begged for their forgiveness, recounting the depth of his remorse and the pain of his regrets. Moved by his sincerity and the depth of his repentance, Queen Nneka and Munachi embraced the king, their hearts softened by the power of his word and the sincerity of his plea. With tears of relief and reconciliation, they forgave him. Yet, as King Obi entreated his wife and son to return with him to their community to reclaim their rightful place by his side, he was met with unexpected resistance. Munachi told him that he is the chief medicine man to the village king and the future son-in-law of the king and an heir to his throne. Shocked and humbled by Munachi's revelation, King Obi struggled to comprehend with the depth of his son's devotion to the newfound community and his refusal to return with him to his ancestral home. And he asked how come he is the future son-in-law of the king and an heir to his throne. Munachi told him his story.
The king of Ugwanyu was sick a long time ago. They sought out all the medicine men from far and wide, but no one was able to cure the king. It was then announced that anyone who would be able to cure the king and restore his health would marry his first daughter and be the next king of Ugwanyu community. And so, the gods bestowed upon me the power of healing, and I was able to cure the king and restore his health. And so I would be the next king of Ugwanyu kingdom.
The king was shocked. Does the king have a male child?
He has, but their own custom here is that any first child, be it a male or female, is the heir apparent to the throne, and any man that marries their daughter becomes the next king, by this giving opportunity to other families to become royalties and make the kingship not to be a family affair.
The king was shocked by this tradition, but also impressed by it. This tradition does not mount pressure in anyone if he does not have a male child, and it also values women. Yes, as he pondered the implication of Munachi's decision, a spark of inspiration ignited within him. The possibility of uniting their two kingdoms, of merging their communities to create a stronger, more prosperous future for all. King Obi proposed the idea of merging their kingdoms to both Munachi's king and his own. After much deliberation and discussion, the two kings agreed to the alliance, recognizing the potentials for unity and prosperity that lays before them. And so, amidst tears of joy and reconciliation, the two families embraced the promise of a new beginning, their hearts united by bonds of love and forgiveness. As preparation began for the union of their children in marriage, King Obi marveled at the unexpected twist of fate that had led him to this moment. Grateful for the opportunity to make amends and build a future founded upon the principle of compassion, understanding, and unity. Finally, the day of the wedding arrived, heralding a joyous celebration that united not only the hearts of two young lovers, but also the destinies of two kingdoms. As the village adorned itself in vibrant colors and joyful songs, King Obi stood proudly beside Munachi, his son and new co-ruler, as they await the arrival of the bride. Amidst the cheers and applause of their people, the bride made her grand entrance, her beauty radiating and her heart filled with love for her albino groom. With tears of happiness streaming down their faces, Munachi and his bride exchanged vows of love and devotion. King Obi and Munachi assumed their role as co-rulers as they merged their kingdom. Their partnership became a beacon of hope and reconciliation for their people. Together, they worked tirelessly to bring peace and prosperity to their community, bridging the divide between their people and abolishing the discrimination faced by albinos and all who were marginalized. King Obi and Munachi inspired their people to value the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, regardless of their skin colors or background. They implemented policies and initiatives aimed at promoting equality and inclusivity, ensuring that no one in their kingdom would ever again suffer the indignity of discrimination or prejudice.